Hi, this is Liz. I live a slow, simple life in the countryside. I love to live mindfully, taking the time to appreciate the small joys in life. I like to smell the summer rain on the cobblestones, feel the morning dew on my bare feet, watch the first sunlight turn the horizon pink. In a fast-paced world that tends to rush by, I like to deeply breathe, to truly see, to genuinely feel. And maybe that's the life you want as well. Maybe the pace of this world tires you. Maybe you feel like you are missing out on what truly matters in life because you're caught up in the rat race, chasing after something society tells us to chase after, no matter if it is what we truly want. There are a million good reasons for longing for a simpler, slower-paced life. And whatever your reason is, I feel you. But while it's easy to watch those people on social media live this fairy tale life and get inspired, it can be challenging to actually take the first steps towards a slower life ourselves. And that's why I'm sharing the 7 steps I took to start living the simple, slow lifestyle of my dreams. The very first step has to be to prioritize ourselves. Oh, how often we have heard that piece of advice, right? It's one of those habits that are so important, but so much easier said than done. Why is it that we always tend to think that prioritizing ourselves has something egoistic about it? Something that feels wrong and selfish whenever we try it? Why is it that we so often believe that all other tasks and duties have to be completed first, and only the tiny bit of time and energy that is left then is truly ours to spend on our self-care? I know these feelings as well, but the way I started seeing it is this. We have a responsibility towards ourselves. From the day we are born until our very last breath, we have a responsibility towards ourselves, more responsibility than towards any other person or job or cause. Our children will grow up. Our partner is an adult person. The company we work for will exist with or without us. But if we don't take our responsibility towards ourselves seriously, then who will? I am a strong believer that the world as a whole would actually be a better place if every person took their responsibility towards themselves seriously. Taking care of our physical and mental well-being, making an effort to have our lives together, striving to reach goals that make us happy and fulfill us, is not selfish. It's taking our responsibility towards ourselves seriously. Something that has helped me prioritize myself is to set aside time for myself as actual appointments on my calendar. The time slot is blocked, and each appointment on the calendar will be taken just as seriously as all the others. We so often feel the need to justify our actions, justify why we can't work overtime or why we can't attend a specific event. I made it a point to stop justifying my actions. My colleagues at work have heard me say countless times that I have to leave at 4 o'clock sharp because I have an appointment. Whether that appointment after work is with a plumbing company for my house renovation or restoring my mental health with some ice cream by the village pond is of absolutely nobody's concern. Reducing the number of items we own makes our lives easier, but it might not be for the reason you expect. The minimalism movement has been around for years, a symptom of a world in which so many of us feel that they have too much of what doesn't really matter and too little of what does. Reducing the number of things we own makes it much easier to keep our home tidy. It calms the mind to not constantly be surrounded by too much clutter, but it also reduces the number of micro decisions we have to make every single day, and that's the aspect that appeals to me the most. When I moved abroad for a while, I could only take one suitcase worth of things. At first, I had no idea how I should fit my entire life into a single suitcase, but when I did, I loved it. I had one nice dress for going out to a restaurant, one pair of shorts for going to the beach, one jacket for cooler evenings. As the decision what to wear was lifted from my shoulders entirely, I noticed how many tiny decisions we are actually making every single day that drain our energy. We might not be spending much of our energy on choosing a pullover in the morning, and the decision might not even be important, but we have to make a decision regardless, and the tiny amounts of energy add up throughout the day. Even when it comes to the most insignificant of choices, we are prone to decision paralysis when faced with too many options, and are actually unhappier with our decisions when given too much choice. We can take a meaningful first step towards a simpler life by reducing the number of unnecessary micro decisions we face. We don't have to become extreme minimalists to do this. Some small habits can have a large impact here. I stopped buying duplicates of things I already had, be it clothing or kitchen items. I will have one bottle of shampoo, one facial cleanser, one toothpaste, and will get a new one when the old one nears its end. The same is true for oat milk or pasta or tea. There is no need to give away all our possessions. We can already simplify our lives noticeably by not adding more decisions to our day than necessary, and by focusing on the important decisions that truly have an impact. Whether we use the peach-scented body lotion or the jasmine-scented one is not one of them. In an era in which juggling multiple tasks simultaneously is often praised as a valuable skill, the art of monotasking is frequently overlooked. Monotasking is the practice of dedicating our focus and energies to a single task at a time. Embracing monotasking was one of the first steps I took towards a slower, simpler life. Let's face it, we cannot actually multitask. We can jump back and forth between tasks, dividing up our focus and energy. Each time we switch tasks, the brain goes through a mental gear change that can exhaust us mentally. By adopting a monotasking approach to our work and everyday tasks, we allow our brain to delve deep into the activity without the interruption of switching between tasks. This unbroken attention can lead to greater comprehension and richer insights, greater satisfaction with our work process, and reduced mental fatigue. Also, without the distraction of constantly shifting between tasks, it's easier to gauge how long an activity will take and to plan our schedule more realistically, reducing the risk of cramming too many to-dos into our day. Monotasking is not only about work though. Monotasking encourages a more mindful approach to life in general. By concentrating on one task at a time, be it eating dinner, going for a walk, or talking to a friend, we can be more present and attuned to what we're doing, leading to a richer, deeper, and more fulfilling experience. We all have wishes, dreams, plans, desires, goals, and that's fantastic. But sometimes, in this vast tapestry of our desires, we find threads that have been woven in by someone else's hands. Societal norms, media, peer pressure, cultural expectations, they all play a role in shaping our wants and aspirations. It's crucial to regularly ask ourselves, are these desires genuinely our own? or are they reflections of what society tells us we should want? Societal narratives often emphasize material success as a yardstick for happiness, as well as traveling to specific places, engaging in certain activities, having reached certain milestones by a certain age. We can take a huge step towards simplifying our lives by taking a closer look at these goals we have set for ourselves. Striving for something primarily because society deems it valuable can lead to us feeling empty and burned out, even if we reach the goals we set for ourselves, because they were not actually our goals at all. By understanding our genuine wants, we can become more immune to the pressure to keep up with others. Identifying and understanding our true desires and the life we truly want to live can provide a clearer sense of purpose. Living authentically will not only make our lives lighter, easier, and happier, we will also attract people who resonate with our true selves. Every time you find yourself wanting something or striving to achieve something, I encourage you to ask yourself why you want this. Is it something that brings genuine joy into your life or gives you an actual benefit? Do you really want that career, that car, that piece of clothing? Or is it something you want because you kind of feel you should be wanting it? Letting go of wants and desires that are not truly our own can feel as if a huge weight is being lifted off our shoulders. Chances are you have heard me talk about routines before. I might sound a bit as if routines literally fix any problem, and I admit I find them incredibly helpful. In addition to mending broken hearts and curing homesickness, routines also simplify our lives by reducing our mental load. A good structure of our daily to-dos forms the base of a simpler and slower life. We have more time and energy to do the things we enjoy if we know that everything else is taken care of. Routines can be completed on autopilot and don't require as many resources as other activities. If you would like to live a slower paced, simpler life, I recommend starting out by establishing a morning and evening routine, as well as routines for cleaning your living space, working out, and everything else you need to or want to do on a regular basis. This could be daily routines, weekly or monthly routines, or even routines you complete only a few times a year, such as, emptying your fridge completely. This way, you will ensure that all tasks get completed and you will require less energy to complete them every time. This is particularly true for tasks we don't enjoy much and tend to postpone, such as cleaning. If we turn them into a routine, we stop worrying with ourselves over it every time it needs to be done. I'm just going to assume you brushed your teeth this morning. How much did you struggle internally over whether or not you are going to brush your teeth now? Probably not at all. You just did it because you do it every morning. If we can get to a point where we complete our routines without even questioning them, we eliminate the stress of constantly fighting ourselves and introduce so much calm and quiet productivity into our lives. Sometimes we have to remind ourselves that we live on a planet on which a day has only 24 hours. Who knows, someday we might settle on Mars and take full advantage of the additional 43 minutes that's gonna give us. But for now, we have to work with what we have. This means we naturally have to decide how we want to spend the limited time we have at our disposal. Which activities, which tasks, and even social relationships will get a slot on our calendar that day, and which ones won't. This includes learning to say no to things that overwhelm us or that aren't high enough on our priority list. It's so easy to allow others to talk us into something we don't actually have the time or energy for, into doing favors, into attending events, into taking over additional responsibilities at work or for a charity. I know it can be very difficult and takes a lot of practice to decline these requests, but it will greatly benefit your mental well-being not to overwhelm yourself with tasks you cannot complete without compromising in other areas. There is also no point in agreeing reluctantly and then holding a secret grudge against the other person because they destroyed your plans or caused you stress. The solution I found the most helpful for me is to offer help freely and volunteer when I truly have the time and energy for it. There are phases in our lives when we are able to help, when we are able to change our plans more freely, and there are times when we aren't. People will acknowledge our willingness to help whenever it is possible, and that will make it easier for them to respect our decision when we have to decline. Especially when someone asks something of you that goes far beyond a regular favor, be very mindful of your time and energy. It is not your duty to solve other people's life problems, to write half of the bachelor's thesis, or to tile their bathroom just because they asked you. It's important to remember that there is nothing wrong with having a list of priorities. There is nothing wrong with declining a request, an offer, or an activity because you want to use your time for something else. The same is true for interpersonal relationships that constantly drain us instead of energizing us, or for lukewarm messenger conversations that don't seem to lead anywhere. Nobody is entitled to our time and energy, and it is our responsibility to decide which people and aspects of our lives to dedicate our limited resources to. Reflect on what is truly important to you long term, what's truly worth investing in from your point of view. And while it is not always possible to avoid stressful phases altogether, they should stay an exception rather than become the norm. We cannot pour from an empty cup. To me, practicing gratitude is one of the most important aspects of simple living. The ability to live simply is largely based on our ability to be grateful for what we have, instead of constantly craving more. There is nothing wrong with having wishes or with wanting to achieve goals, but I find it very important to take a moment every now and again to acknowledge how much we already have. Do you know the feeling of lying in a warm, soft bed with a stomach full of delicious food? Well, if you do, then this is the moment for gratitude. Valuing the little things in life, treasuring the joy in the mundane moments, and giving back to the people who mean a lot to us shifts our focus towards the positive and makes our lives happier. There are many ways we can cultivate a more grateful mindset in our everyday lives. Journaling can be a fantastic way to reflect on everything we have been grateful for that day. Making a conscious effort to focus on the beautiful and the positive while going for a walk, doing something nice for someone who doesn't expect it. Even though I myself am not religious, I like the tradition of saying a prayer before a meal. To me, it's not important whether you express your gratitude towards a deity, towards our earth, or towards the farmer who planted and harvested your food. The whole point is to remind ourselves that everything we have cannot be taken for granted. Cultivating a mindset of gratitude helps us reflect and question how much more than enough we actually need. Acknowledging that we have enough and that we are enough is one of the best first steps we can take towards living a slower, simpler life. Have you taken any of these steps towards a simpler life already? How is it impacting your life? Let me know in the comments.